Okay, so Alan, what was your song?
What's that?
What was your
That
song?
was an original, actually. It's called Stanley's Song.
Awesome. Awesome.
Did everybody hear that? Maybe in the microphone.
Sure. So this was an original.
Yeah, it's called Stanley's Song. It's a tribute to the jazz pianist Stanley Cowell.
Okay, Stanley's song, tribute to the jazz pianist Stanley Cowell. Yes. All right. Did it justice. Good morning. I'm Linda Kinney, and I'm today's worship associate. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lancaster. Today begins the World Council of Churches Week of Prayer for Christian Unity in the Northern Hemisphere. And today is also known as Pascha Patrata Ekadashi, a Hindu festival celebrated more in northern India than in other parts of India. For women or couples who wish for a son, it is a day to avoid certain foods and pray to Vishnu. Thursday will be the Jewish New Year of the trees, known as Tu B'Shvat. Here at UUCL, we come together to nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. We welcome you this morning, just as you are. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, however you identify. Today, you are a part of the spiritual community. And if this is your first time here, may you soon discover this is also your spiritual community. And as has become our custom, let us give a special welcome to all those joining the service this morning on Zoom. So I'll invite those of you on Zoom to turn your camera on and share a wave together. And everyone in the sanctuary, let's wave to the camera in the back of the sanctuary to send our greetings. We welcome all ages in the sanctuary today. Our playroom in the adjoining building is open for children ages 4 and younger if parents would like to bring your child there. There's also a table with activities for busy hands of all ages in the Women's Memorial Room opposite me in the sanctuary. It's back there. And right now I want to invite everybody to take a moment to consider the sacred space that we are now in and acknowledge the truth of the land beneath and around us. We are gathered on land once inhabited by people known as the Susquehannock and Conestoga and ancient peoples before them. We acknowledge the violent legacies of genocide, displacement, and settlement that led us to being here today, and remind ourselves to live humbly in relation with this land and with all the indigenous people still living and loving on this continent. May we also acknowledge that the wealth and foundation of the United States was built upon the labor and toil of enslaved people. Many indigenous people will say, all are relatives. May we live into this truth and aspiration together. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our senior minister, the Reverend Patricia Guthmann Haresch.
Thank you, Linda. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. For those of you who know, I drive up here from Maryland every Sunday, and the roads were fine. Here I am, all safe, no problem, no blowing, beautiful, sunny. And I'm here this morning with my son, Will, who's over there. After here, I drive him to Haverford for his last spring semester. Yeah. So this morning, we're going to remember and celebrate the songs of the civil rights movement. And maybe you know some of the stories behind these songs, maybe you don't. So if you knew something I don't tell you today about any of these songs, please let me know, because I'm really curious. These are the songs I grew up with. These are the songs I'd either hear on the radio, or if I went to protests with my parents, or on our records. You know, those are old things that we used to put on a thing and it would go around and you'd put a needle on it. And I used to Here in my church, because I grew up Unitarian Universalist, and we would have hootenannies. Anybody remember that? Hootenannies, where we'd sing folk songs. And so many of the songs that I thought were folk songs were actually songs from the Civil Rights Movement. A lot of those songs had originally been African American spirituals sung in the black church that spread in popularity. So today I'll tell you a few stories about the songs. Today we'll get to sing them together. Some may be familiar, some maybe not. So it seemed appropriate for as we light our chalice, as we do when we begin our services together, as UU churches do all over the world in this moment, or maybe they did an hour before or will an hour after. We'll light our chalice of hope and inspiration and community, and I'll share words from Martin Luther King. These are words that came from his Springfield College commencement speech on June 1964. He says, "All life is interrelated." Sound a little Unitarian? All life is interrelated. We are all tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all directly. As long as there is poverty in this world, no one can be totally secure. Somehow we are all tied together in this great system of humanity. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. And as he often said, we are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. May we remember this interconnectedness in a world that seems to want to separate us and have each other call each other different and look upon others with fear and suspicion. Let us remember, as we said together, all our family, yes, and may we remember this truth. So our first song is going to be a song that's in our hymnal, Guide My Feet, but I'm going to give you a little intro, because I promised each song has a story, right? And before the Civil Rights Movement, Guide My Feet was, as many were, was a spiritual sung in black churches throughout the South. Like many of the African American spirituals, there were components to them. Oftentimes there'd be a biblical quote that it went off on. In this particular case, Guide My Feet, it comes from Hebrews in Christian scripture, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. So this race in life that we're running, yes? And Philippians 2:16, so I did not run or labor in vain. May the way we run this race be for purpose, and may we be protected. Now, another component of many African American spirituals is they were in code. So for instance, you know the song, Wade in the Water. Now the captors, the masters, might have thought that that was just a nice song about a biblical verse. But it also was telling people, follow the river to get out of here, right? These songs were coded. We can imagine Guide My Feet, Run, Go, might have been a coded song and sung to say, time to go, tonight's the night, go run, right? Run toward freedom away from captivity. But the song also says, you're not alone. One of the stanzas says, hold my hand. And one of the stanzas says, stand by me. You're in community. You're not running a race alone. And during the early 1960s, this song was most associated with the civil rights movement in Mississippi, as another song in our hymnal, Gonna Sit at the Welcome Table, that came out of civil rights movement, really made it popular in the Mississippi area. And Mississippi was one of the most entrenched systems of segregation and oppression, and maintained with threats of violence. So popular song from that movement. We got a small choir here who's going to help us lead in the songs. I'm going to share. If you did not know, Eli has been in isolation with COVID, but the CDC says it's okay now for him to go out masked. He won't be singing, he won't be speaking, but he's got his helpers. And so we're going to sing, and you're able to rise as you're able, number 348 in our gray hymnal, Guide My Feet. Your heart beating. You can settle in the pew, find your heart, find your breath, and we'll go to a place of prayer and meditation. Many of you, your favorite hymn is Spirit of Life, number 123 in the hymnal. That's easy to remember, yes. And the Reverend Nika Eaton Gwynn has written a prayer using the words of Spirit of Life. And so I'll share her words with you. Sing in our hearts the stirrings of compassion. Compassion for the oppressed, compassion for those who are scared and hurting, compassion for those who are sick and in pain and suffering, compassion for those caught in wars not of their own making. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. May we listen to the stirrings of the earth, and together protect our beautiful planet that holds and nourishes us. May we hold and nourish her. Move in our hands so we may give life the shape of justice, that all may experience equity, freedom, and just plain dignity. Roots, hold us close so we may feel a connection to all and to the earth and to one another, interconnected everything. Wings, set us free so we may soar with inspiration, creativity, vision, and love. Spirit of love and life, come to us so we may be whole and live lives of value and purpose. May it be so. And may we hold the joys and sorrows and complex truths in each of our hearts in this moment. In this moment, I'm going to first share out loud some of the joys and concerns people have let me know of and we're aware of. As I say those, Linda will place a stone in the sand to mark each of those. And after I go through some of the ones I say out loud, I'll invite you to come forward in silence and mark with a stone those joys and sorrows on your hearts, if you so wish. A stone of concern and care for those who find themselves in places of open conflict, whether in their own home or in the battles in nations going on right now all over the world. A stone of healing for those who've been suffering in this season of colds and flu and respiratory crud and COVID right now. 'Tis the season, yes. Folks like Eli, a stone of healing and care. It's amazing we see Diane up here now at the piano. Please be holding Diane and her loved ones in your hearts. She's going to be having exploratory surgery. We're hoping for no complications, and it's absolutely nothing. It's benign. May you hold Diane in your hearts this week. It's happening soon. A stone for Steve, our co-president. He was having a little cardiac scare, and thank goodness went into the hospital for testing, and thank goodness he's home. Thank goodness he's home, and we hope he gets good answers in more testing to come. So do think of Steve and Linda. A stone of joy, a little bittersweet. We've had a wonderful visit with Will, and now it goes back to school. So that's just my own personal little joy and concern, right? A stone of joy for John and Marion. John has returned home after a long period of rehabilitation home in Willow Valley. A stone of joy, if you didn't see in the love notes or haven't gone back, we have a new child care assistant named Emily. She's lovely, so we should have more consistently have the playroom open. People are welcome to be here at any time. You're welcome to bring the kids to the playroom. And I'm excited. So welcome, Emily, to our spiritual community. So this is the time, if you're able in silence, to come forward and mark your joys and sorrows with a stone. May you think of them like a seed, and as we plant them in the sand, may you think of tendrils shooting out of healing and joy and compassion. May it be so. So for the choir, I'm realizing the story might be a little longer before we get to the next song. And I may be asking for more help at a certain point than just the choir. But the song, This Little Light of Mine, is probably one of the most favorite among congregations to sing. It's probably one of the favorite children's songs about old time. Maybe some people are almost tired of it.
Singing is one of the main things that can keep us going. When you're in a brick cell, locked up, and haven't done anything to anybody, but still you're locked up there, and sometimes words just begin to come to you and you begin to sing. Like one of my favorite songs, This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine. This same song goes back to the 5th chapter of Matthew, which is in the Beatitudes.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hold it under a bushel, no. Under a bushel, no. I'm gonna let it shine. Hold it under a bushel, no. I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah. Hold it under a bushel, no. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Do your rollers, yeah. Let it shine. This little light. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little Once you get Alan going on this little light, it's kind of hard to, we just don't even almost want it to stop, right?
Here's a reading from a speech of Martin Luther King Jr. on March 31st, 1968, just days before his death. There's a little song that we sing in our movement down in the South. I don't know if you've heard it, King told the Memphis crowd. You know, I've joined hands so often with students and others behind jail bars singing it. We shall overcome. Sometimes we've had tears in our eyes when we joined together to sing it, but we still decided to sing it. We shall overcome. Oh, before this victory's won, some will have to get thrown in jail some more, but we shall overcome.
We Shall Overcome was a very powerful song in my childhood, and it is a song that has spanned the world, growing well beyond the civil rights movement. It went from the United States to Northern Ireland to demand equal rights from the British, to Eastern Europe protesting communism, to an international conference of Buddhist women in Malaysia, young Tibetan nuns singing for freedom just in 2017. And the song did originate as a Christian gospel hymn with words written in the early 1900s by an African-American pastor and composer who was the son of a slave, the Reverend Charles Albert Tindley. And the melody came from another traditional African-American gospel song called "It'll Be All Right." In the mid-1940s, as I mentioned before, Sophia Horton from the Highlander Folk School was at a labor rights movement, and this is when she first heard the song. And it was African-American tobacco workers, and they were on a labor strike in Charleston, and they were seeking a pay raise to 30 cents an hour. That's what they were protesting about. And Horton was struck by the moving simplicity of this beautiful song and how one picketer in particular, Lucille Simmons, would sing it very slowly and powerfully. And she's the one who is credited with changing the lyrics from "I shall overcome" to "we shall overcome." And also, as was said by Fannie Lou Hamer, all these songs lend themselves to a little bit of play. So these songs would get new verses if it was for one protest or another. And so in the tradition, Lucille Simmons had changed a few of the words of "we shall overcome," "I" to "we." And Horton began to teach this song to students, activists at the Highlander Folks School. And to, many of you know the acronym SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, that movement that spread throughout, especially the South, protesting segregation and for voting rights. These activists spread the song, "We Shall Overcome," and as Fannie had said in her words, and Martin Luther King, in jails, a song of inspiration. And on the buses. A new verse was added to the song in the late 1950s during a nighttime raid. The Highlander School was often attacked by the local community and police and vigilantes. One night, some vigilantes and police officers out of uniform descended upon Highlander School when everything was in the dark. They were watching a movie. There was actually a youth choir who was at the school at the time. And while the movie was being shown, the gang came with their flashlights and they were yelling, "Turn the lights on, turn the lights on." And the kids started singing, "We Shall Overcome." And the new verse was added. One boy added, "We shall not be afraid." And they sang it louder and they refused to turn on the lights. Now eventually, that location for the Highlander School was closed down by another group of vigilantes. And a subsequent Tennessee Supreme Court ruling forced it down in the county where it was. And it's now based and is still going in Newmarket, Tennessee. Folk singers Pete Seeger, Guy Carawan, Frank Hamilton, and Ms. Horton herself were the first to register a copyright for what they were saying was a new song, different than what Reverend Tindley had written decades before, because it had new verses and it was called "We Shall Overcome" and not "I Shall Overcome." And so in 1960, they started to get the publishing rights and monies from the recordings of the music and publishing of the music. They did start a "We Shall Overcome" fund, which helped to support the Highlander Folk School and also nurture grassroots efforts within African American communities for art, activism, rights, and fights against injustice. However, one does wonder if the descendants of Reverend Tindley or activist Lucille Simmons might have liked some of the royalties as well with the original song. Were the changes enough for them not to have the rights to the music? A lawsuit was filed against the Folk Singers Publishing Company because many people have said, well, isn't that like everybody's song? Shouldn't that be in public domain? And why do you guys get the rights? It was the same lawyers who said that Happy Birthday had an original copyright owner. And that's why many restaurants don't sing you happy birthday anymore and have some funky other thing they do for you, right? That's same, right. Shh, we gotta be right.
That's why I stopped.
So, I think we can do just about anything in church during the service as long as we give credit. So maybe that first Sunday of every month I should let you know where that song came from, right? A lawsuit was filed, and actually now, We Shall Overcome is in the public domain. But it's a beautiful song. We have it in our hymnal. Why don't you rise as you are able? And we'll sing number 169 in our gray hymnal with our choir leading us on the way.
This is the time in our service when we will pass the plates and accept your offerings. You may also go to our website to make a donation online. A portion of the offering will be shared this month with the Benchmark program. Founded to transform the way our community's most vulnerable yet promising population is served, the underserved youth. Benchmark's gym, team, and scope of impact has expanded since its founding in 2014, but the core remains the same: to build our underserved youth into community leaders. You may now pass the plates. Do look to our weekly email newsletter, the Love Notes, for weekly need-to-knows and events at UUCL, as well as our Facebook page and website calendar. To sign up for the newsletter, look to our website or contact our office. Thursday evening, January 25th, there will be a Garvin lecture regarding Christian nationalism. We will be having a volunteer engagement fair next Sunday. Sign-up information is in the Love Notes and was sent out to the Leader Circle. Dinner go-rounds will be starting up again, where a small group of UUCLers meet for dinner in people's homes or here in our building. There is also sign-up information if you would like to be part of a discussion group regarding the UUA's common read this year, Repentance and Repair. Next week, Reverend Pat will be speaking on the 5 smooth stones of Unitarian Universalism. It was said David had 5 smooth stones in his pouch when he went to fight Goliath. What are our 5 smooth stones to resist the Goliaths of our time? Today, there will be a town hall in Emerson after the service to discuss the future of professional ministry at UUCL following the service. And the Goddess Gathering class will be meeting at 2 p.m. in the Women's Memorial Room. So let us join together.
I think we have another announcement.
We have another announcement. Come up, Eli.
Oh,
Testing. Hey. Hello, friends. I hope you can hear me. I'm not going to take off the mask, but music is happening here at the church. February 10th, 7 p.m. It's a Saturday. It's from 7 to 8. Join Alan as he does a concert of romantic music for Valentine's Day. It is a fundraiser for the music team and the Share the Plate that month. So, a lot of Chopin pieces. So, and then open mic nights. Keep an eye on our social media. They're happening. Thanks, friends.
Do we need to buy tickets for this? No, we do not need to buy tickets for this. Okay.
It's by donation.
By donations, we just show up and donate and listen to Alan.
Right, and all proceeds go to music in our church.
Okay, all proceeds go to music in the church program.
7 o'clock, that's Saturday.
Yes.
oh, someone's writing it down on their calendar right now.
So let us join together to read in unison the affirmation of faith. It is found in front of the gray hymnal, and it should appear on the screen for those of you in Zoom. We'll read it first in English and then in Spanish. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor, el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ofrenda. Este a nuestro gran pacto, el convivir unidos en paz, el buscar la verdad en amor, y ayudarnos unos a los otros.
As Linda extinguishes the chalice, just a few words, a very short piece from, short and sweet, from the Reverend D. Scott Cooper. He says, the world aches for us to join together and bring about healing, toil for justice, and produce ever-increasing love. This is our calling. Go forth and act accordingly. Go in peace, go in love, go in joy. Make sure you go to the meeting downstairs in Emerson. And there may even be coffee and tea, I think so. But may you go enjoy peace and love. And do bring your ideas downstairs. One last song.